We're not allowed to. No.
Good morning, I'm B.
And I'm T, and
And we're
we're the
twisted
Twisters.
with
Eh?
the same mister.
All right. So happy Sunday, everybody. We just
Sunday.
wanted to jump on here and introduce ourselves a little bit, tell our stories, who we are and how we got here. But first, we have a little something for you guys. You want to tell them what we got, B?
So we're here again, Twisters with the same mister, which is who we are. So we have an introduction of who the mister is. So hey, check it out.
All right.
All right, this is my story, and yes, I'm reading it. For those who have met the Twisters, B and T, I am the Mr. G. This is a brief introduction of myself to share where the good looks of twins come from. Let me first give thanks to both of them for welcoming me into their adventure. Meeting them as adults and to have them embrace me in their lives and family, it's a joy that was gifted to me, tailor-made. You have to feel it to understand it. Meeting B roughed up some feathers and we bumped heads out of the gate. But we kept moving forward and not looking back, reaching for blames. We both challenged our differences as human beings and found our way to become father and daughter. The bonding and love she has given me truly makes me proud to have her as a daughter. Let me be clear for a few of the haters. I'm not trying to shine. I was invited here. Why can't I have my cake and eat it too? To add icing to the cake, I met T. Different experience for the first time, one that instantly cleared the smoke. Me and T have a few characteristic features that are tied to our DNA. Although we are at the beginning of our bonding, her personality is the thing that touched me the most. What I've noticed of her includes her kindness, compassion, patience, empathy, and consideration. And I'm so looking forward to be known as Papa G. Peace.
All right. So you go first.
Oh. I guess as you all can tell that I love the mister. I mean, he's such a unique character. Um, as he stated, we had a rough start, but where we stand now is so, I stand in awe of just, I've seen him grow as a man and as a dad. So I don't know. I just love, I love my dad.
Oh, that's so sweet. I thought it was so sweet. I like that he shouted out the little nickname I gave him, and just to hear, because I don't think before this video I'd ever really heard what he thinks of me. I know he tells me that he's like grateful for my love, and he's grateful that I'm in his life, that I'm in grandma's life, and that I've just been so open to embracing everybody. But to just hear him describe me was just really sweet. It's like sometimes you need to hear what other people think of you, like
Right.
and not just guess. So sometimes it feels good to hear it. But in true Papa G fashion,
And yes,
oh
he was
man,
invited into the platform. No,
yes,
he didn't
we
force
asked
it.
him to, yeah, we asked him to do this. He didn't insert
Eager.
himself.
He was eager. But I will say this though, like I said, I've watched him grow. So, um, with me being the first girl to come in as a, I don't know how to describe it, um, coming in
Later in life.
later in life, um, it was very difficult for the both of us to navigate in the beginning because although I was 21, I was still in the mindset of a little girl looking for a dad. And he was under the assumption that I was a grown woman that is now his daughter. So
Yeah.
it was tough waters to navigate through because I was seeking something that he was incapable of giving at that time. So for him to acknowledge as well, that it was rough at first, but we pushed through. And on the other side of the rough waters have been so many memorable moments that I could have never imagined. And although you and I both never got to have childhood moments with him, um, the moments that we are making as an adult that we get to choose to have with him are far more. I don't even. It's indescribable, honestly, because we get to choose to have a relationship with him. It's not forced. Oh, he's my daddy. He raised me. I got to have a relationship with him. It's a
Yeah.
choice that we get to choose every day. And I think I'm going to continue to choose to have a relationship
Yeah.
with my daddy.
No, yeah. I have to say, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, but thank you for all of the work that you put in, um, and walking into this, deciding what you wanted your relationship with Papa G to look like, and just really doing the work, because I do get to benefit. It has made it so much easier for me. And I get asked that a lot sometimes. Well, maybe not a lot, but sometimes I do get asked, like, because of like all of the details surrounding the situation, and just who he is and how he can come across to people. You know, how I'm adjusting to everything, how like everything, and the situation itself is hard, but the relationship part is easy, because from day one he's been open to getting to know me. He's been open to getting to know my girls, and so that has made it easier. A lot of the stuff that you shared that you've had to deal with, like, that hasn't even come up for me, and I know that it's because of you. And so I just want to say thank you for that, because and you told me from day one, you said, look, I walk this road, so if I can make it easier for you, if I could be your support system, then like that's what I want to do. And I really do get to feel the benefits of that. So, you're not supposed to be crying. But no, I just want to thank you for that, because this was rough on its own. Just having the revelation that like the players that have been around all the time were not the actual like players. And so just that revelation has been hard, but not having to deal with someone that is trying to figure out how to separate the man from the dad,
Right.
um definitely made it easier. So thank you
You're
for
welcome.
being a big sister and looking out for your little sister.
But like I told you from our onset of the conversation of, um, I want you to get to know him for
Yeah.
yourself. I don't I want you to consider every story you hear about him, be it good or bad, but I want you to process it all and get to know him for yourself, because the man and the way he carries himself has nothing to do with me. You know,
Yeah.
the way that he interacts with me and my children as a father and a grandfather outweighs what he does as a man. I'll never have to deal with my dad as a suitor. So as he pursues and lives his life, that doesn't bother me. There are some
Yeah.
conversations that I don't have to have with him. I'm not, there's other areas of his life that I don't have to touch. So
Yeah.
I don't care about what he does in the streets,
Yeah.
as it doesn't knock at my door. It doesn't bring me any hurt, harm, or danger. I'm okay
Yeah.
with that's his decisions. That's between him and God.
Yeah.
My lashes are getting ready to come off from crying. Uh,
Okay, well, let's pivot, because I don't want your lashes to come off, because we got a whole lot more they got to hold on.
okay.
All right. And so, yeah, like B said earlier, that's the mister. That's the same mister that we come from. He's the reason that we're here.
Ready.
Um, and He is a character, but we love him. All right, so now we're going to introduce ourselves, tell a little bit about our story and how we got here. And because she's the oldest and she's twister number one, I am going to let B go first.
All righty. So, again, I'm B. I'm the big twister. I came into this world in 78. So that means I've been here a while. When I came into the world, I had three older siblings already with my mother, who I love and adore, Tiffany, Danielle, and Roderick. I hope it's okay that I said their names, but they're tiny. And then they all share a father which has loved and taken care of me the majority of my life as well until his passing. So I was never without a dad. I had one. Um, so my mom met my dad when he was in the military in Junction City, Kansas. And I don't know their story completely. I just know that when he left Kansas, he left me there. My mother was pregnant with me at the time, and
Mm.
from my understanding, my mom found out that he had other things going on in his life, so she chose not to tell him about me. So therein lies another little girl without a dad. I can say that my life wasn't hard in the point of him not being there. Um, but there's some voids that I realize in adulthood that I've experienced from not having my bio dad and not knowing exactly who I was because of that. Um, at 21, I got pregnant with my daughter. At 20, I got pregnant with my daughter. And then I realized because I lost my mother at 15, I'm like, gosh, my kid won't have any bio grandparents. I had a name, I had a picture, and all of these things. So I got on AOL, dial up, and I searched his name, and I sent an email out to two people with the same name. And within a week, I received a response with pictures of my mom almost 21 years later. So never once did he say, "Oh no, we got to get some DNA. This is not my child." He was, "Yep, that's me. I'm your daddy." And to see the pictures of him, and it was the weirdest thing because I look just like him. When I shared that information with my aunt, she was just out of it. Yeah, that's him. That's that man. That's your daddy. So it was like, wow. He sent for myself and my daughter to come to Alaska. And just to see him in person, it was so emotional because I look just like this man. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't like him for the first 2 years of our relationship because of who he was at that point in his life. And that was the tough time and tough waters. Um, and I didn't know how to express myself. So once I got back home, I wrote him a letter and I sent it to him, and he responded, and we were able to figure out where we were going. And from that moment on, I think there's nothing I can't talk to him about. I don't need to write letters anymore because he does respect me as his daughter, as an adult, and my feelings. He really does consider my feelings, which has done a lot for me. Um, in dealing with him because he's changed and he's just grown so much. My kids adore him. I He's like a best friend to me. And then
Oh.
there's besides Taja and myself, there will be 8 other siblings included in this journey. However, everything is not as we would hope for it to be at this time. Prayerfully, mountains can be moved and things can be changed. But just being the person that he has become in my life has really done great things for myself and my children. And it's something that money can't buy. Um, my siblings, that my mom's children that have met him, I mean, it's an awesome just merge and mesh in the relationship that we all share. So I guess that's it. And just getting to meet Taja through this process has been very, 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 very just strange. And I guess she'll in detail more of her journey with this part, but it's been a very different, odd, but welcome experience. I don't know how to, you'd have to experience it to understand it. So that's
Yes.
it.
Okay. I'm gonna save the questions that I have to after I tell my story. So then that way, like, if there's overlap or you want to ask me the same question, it, we at least got my background out the way.
For sure.
Okay. So, I'm T. I'm the younger Twister, Twister number two. And I grew up, the oldest of my mom and my dad, not my bio dad's, kids. And so I grew up, uh, with another man, who I love, and he is and will always be my dad, but he is not my biological father. And so him and my mom grew up together, got married, had two kids together, got a divorce, married other people, and I got additional siblings, um, from that. So for a majority of my life, up until 2 years ago, I was the oldest of five. I had four siblings, and it was perfect. I had two sisters, two brothers, like right down the middle. Um, and then uh, about 5, 6 years ago, my best friend and I found Finding Your Roots, and we became obsessed. And we were watching all of the episodes, and so we were like, "Hey, let's take some ancestry tests." We did 23andMe, and we got our results, and we were all excited. But both of us kept talking back and forth about whether or not we wanted to do ancestry. Um, and we ultimately was like, we'll hold off on that. But I created an ancestry account. I was using all of their free tools to put together my family history and my family tree. Over on 23andMe, I kept getting some random people that I didn't know how to place. I don't know my dad's side of the family. And it's my understanding that like he doesn't know um his family that well either. Like the people that were around when he was growing up, he obviously knows them. But as far as like anybody,
Our dad's people. I mean,
so
this is
this
the
is my dad that raised me.
good.
So okay, to clear up confusion, because that's a good point. When I say my dad, I am talking about the man that has been present my entire life, but it's not my biological father. When I say Papa G, that is my bio dad, and that is how I will distinguish between the two. Um, and basically, as my relationship with Papa G grew, it no longer felt right to just call him by his first name. Um, and then also it's kind of confusing because we got a brother with the same name. And so depending on who you were talking to, it just got confusing because it's like, wait, are you talking about Big G or Little G? And so I agonized for a few months, trying to figure out what to call him, and nothing really sounded right. I knew that I called him, I also wanted the girls to call him. And so I was trying to find something that like could just go for both of us. And then I finally settled on Papa G. And I don't know, when the words came out of my mouth, I was like, oh my God, this sounds right. It did take a bit to transition from using his first name to calling him Papa G. But that didn't last very long. And so um, on our page, on these lives, reels, when I say Papa G, I'm talking to the same Mister. And when I say dad, I'm talking about the man that has been in my life since birth. That's on my birth certificate. So just to clear that up. But yeah, my dad didn't know a lot of like extended cousins and ancestors. And so I was like, well, maybe these are just some people he don't know about. And he's like, no, I don't recognize that last name. Like, these are the names. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll figure it out. it never dawned on me that this name was popping up because it wasn't connected to my dad. And so, wow, it was just eating at me. And I was like, I don't even know what side of the family some of these people are on. So I asked my mom and my dad and my brother to take a test. And my dad had taken Ancestry. And so I figured like 23andMe had like a sale, got the test super cheap. And I was like, well, I didn't already test it with 23andMe. So at least if I get my brother and my mom to take the test, I could sort out between mom and dad. My mom didn't take the test. I don't know why. She said she would, but then I think life just kind of got in the way and she forgot. And then when my brother results came back, it said that we were half siblings. Well, it said that he was my half brother, and it told him I was his aunt. So he immediately was like, "I told you this was a scam, because it's saying you my aunt, and ain't no way, blah blah blah." And I was over here like, these tests are pretty accurate because I've connected with real family. So then I talked to my dad, and he was just kind of like laughing, and like it was a really weird and awkward conversation. And I'm like, why is nobody taking me serious here? Like, why does everybody think this is a joke? And so then my dad had said that he was going to take a 23andMe test, but I guess he forgot. So I went ahead and did an ancestry test, and I was like, well, this will tell us once and for all. So when the results came back, it said that my dad was not a match, and I had a half sister. Um, and like poked around, looked through our shared matches. She had connected her Facebook and her Instagram to her ancestry account. So I went to her Facebook page, I went to her Instagram page, and I was like, there's nobody that like looks familiar. My mom my mom has a type. Like I said, her and my dad broke up. So some of her friends, her male friends, that have been around that like fit the type as my dad, light skin, cute, buff. I was like, well, maybe one of them could be it. But Papa G, like, never crossed my mind. And they have been like they continued their friendship. So I just don't have any memories of him. Like he's a face that like I don't remember seeing, that like didn't pop up. And so like nobody was looking familiar. And so I just reached out, and it took her probably about 2 weeks or a month to respond. And it was not a very warm welcome. It was just kind of like,
That wasn't me.
no, it wasn't her. So the half sister that I matched with was not B. It was another sister. But I just reached out and was like, hey, our ancestry says that like we're close relatives. Do you have any uncles? I didn't want to go straight to the half sister because I didn't know what situation I was stepping into. So I was like, let me just like ease into it. And she was like, I doubt that. What proof do you have? And so then it kind of felt like an interrogation. She was asking a lot of questions about me. And I was like, well, I'm going to give her what she wants, because hopefully I'll get what I want, because I need something. And then, she got the information, my name, my mom's name. She came back and she was like, well, I talked to my parents, and yeah, we're siblings, this and third. And then as we kept talking, like that wall kind of melted. And so then that initial reaction, it kind of softened, and she was like, well, uh, the we have a half sister, she wants to talk to you. Is it okay if I give her your information? This half sister, unbeknownst to me, was my twister. And so I was like, yeah, that's fine. And then B messaged me on Facebook, and like she asked for my number, and then it was just like immediate, like boom, boom, boom. We're texting, we're calling. And that first phone call, I just remember you gave me everybody's names. You was like, okay, so here's the deal. This is how many siblings we have. This is like everybody's age, and this is the order, and that was really good because I didn't have any information. I didn't know. And then I had to like tell my family, and that was not very easy. It was very emotional, and everybody had a range of reactions from I don't want to talk about it, or we're like, why do we have to even acknowledge that this is a thing? Why can't we continue the way that life has always been? So this doesn't change anything, to what is it that you need? And like, if this is what you want to do, then I feel like this is what you should do. And honestly, I didn't even know what I wanted to do in the beginning. I It took a while for me to reach out to Papa G, because I had questions, but I didn't know what I wanted from him. Like, did I just want information about who you are, what the family history is, or do I want a relationship? And I ultimately decided that I wanted a relationship, that I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to be in my life, even though I went from having four siblings to I think it's 14 now. And so that is still hard to wrap my head around. People are like, "How many brothers do you have?" And I'm like, "Hold up, got to go back to middle school. Let me or grammar
Yeah,
school. Let me
for real. For real. Yes.
go." And everybody that I met, they have a story about Papa G. They have their own relationship with Papa G, and so trying to navigate, and then like everybody has opinions about each other, and so trying to navigate getting to know everybody for myself, not being tainted by what I heard, whether it was good or bad. Like, they might be great to you, but that doesn't mean that that's going to be the reception that I get. Or they might be horrible to you, but that doesn't mean that that's how they're going to treat me. And trying to like stay neutral, trying to get to know everybody for myself. Also, while still wrapping my head around this, I have three young girls. Like, my older girls, all their life, like, and because my parents were divorced and remarried, like a blended family, having two grandmas, two granddads, like that was nothing for them. But then I'm like, if I'm going to be um getting to know these people, and I've never had in relationships with them. So like, if this is my best friend, hey, this is my best friend so and so. Hey, this is my cousin so and so. I always give them the relationship to like how I know this person or how this person is related to them. So then to be like, well, now it's going to be 14 other people popping up, and this is just so and so. Don't worry about it. That doesn't fly for me. That's not how I parent. That's not how we live our life. And so I had to figure out how do I tell them? And there are people who are like, well, why do they need to know? They're kids. Because this is their family. Like, this directly impacts them. And so I struggle with keeping a kid in a kid's place, because I feel like sometimes we say that because we don't want to answer tough questions. But when they are seeing things and they are being impacted, it is their place. Once it comes in, and so I just didn't know how to handle that. I homeschool my girls; they're with me all the time. I go hang out with my friends, unless it's explicit, like this is grown folks' time. Then of course, I get childcare. But like, when Papa G was coming into town to meet me, uh, it wasn't always going to be feasible for me to get childcare, and I didn't want to not be able to see him because I couldn't work around my husband's work schedule or get somebody to watch the kids. So I took them along with me to meet him. And yeah, but trying to navigate all of that was just a lot. It's like you have the information, but then how does this information fit into your daily life? And it was so overwhelming. Papa G arranged for both
And
of his brothers and his sister, and all of the boys except for one to be there. And so I met everybody or almost everybody at one time. and I was trying to keep everybody straight. Like some of our brothers brought like their wives and significant others, and I think there was a nephew there, and so I was just like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. It's one of me, so they can keep me straight. The ones that have been here from the beginning, they didn't been through this at least like 2 other times. This is my first time, and it was a lot. I cried a lot those first couple months. Um, a lot. Um, but then it kind of settled. I remember the first time I met grandma, she was like, "Come here, let me look at you," and she was like, "You sure you want to be a part of this crazy family?" I'm like, "I don't think I have a choice. The DNA." And she's like, "Well, it's too late now." And she scooped me up in this big old hug, and she squeezed me for dear life. And I was just like, like I said earlier, I'm not very close to my my dad's side of the family, but I grew up living with my mom's mom, and that has been a void that like she passed when I was 17, and like um the hole she left in my life has like never gone away. Like that void continues to be felt to this day. Um, but I knew because of how I just feel about grandmas that like I did not want to deny myself the chance to get to know my biological grandmother. Um, I was like, she might be horrible and I might not have anything to do with her, but at least let me get to know, because if she ends up being awesome, I can make the most of this time. Like this is a blessing because my maternal grandmother died so young, and to have a paternal grandmother that is still living and to be the age that she is, like I just recognized the gift right away that it was, and I was like, I truly hope this is a gift, but we're gonna see. And it has been a gift. So yeah, I think that's my story and how I got here. Did I miss anything?
No, but I'm glad you spit in the tube.
I'm glad that I spit in the tube too.
Ow.
So, all right. So, I know that it was rough for you and Papa G in the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, why didn't you run? Why didn't you just say, I've been without you for 20 years, and if this is what it is, I'm good?
Because like I said, I lost my mom at 15 and I was now pregnant. And it was like, my baby won't have anybody on the maternal side of me, grandparent wise. So I felt that I owed her that.
Mhm.
So initially it was all about doing it for my daughter. Um, but then it was like, girl, you got some healing you need to do. You need to figure out who the hell you are, And so I had to sit in it. And even when it got rough, I would have rather went through the rough patches saying I had a dad than going through life and not knowing. So just wanting to know who I was um, as a whole, what
Okay.
made me tick and why certain things, certain stuff like you do this or you look like it, and you trying to figure out, well, ain't nobody else doing this, ain't nobody
Yeah.
else, so really self-discovery. As I matured, I learned that it was more about self-discovery than, um, just feeling like, oh, I just need my daddy. No, I needed to know who I was. So
Yeah.
why you didn't run?
Um, because I'm too dang on nosy.
That's a good one.
No, like I said, I didn't know if I wanted relationship relationships with anybody, I was still just trying to wrap my head around the fact that like the truth I had known for 34 years was no longer my truth. And you and another one of our brothers, like y'all came on really, really strong. And like y'all were just like, hey, hey, hey. And it was different in y'all's approaches, but just that everything was happening so fast that like once y'all found out about me, I feel like a lot of the other siblings were kind of like, okay, we're gonna let her take the driver's seat. We're not gonna like make contact, let her make contact. And I don't know if that was because they didn't know how to make contact, if they like that's just how they approach everything or like what it was. But I think yeah, I think you two were the ones that asked for my contact information and reached out to me first. And so it kind of also felt like, well, I guess we're doing this. But because you were outside of the sister that I like matched with on Ancestry, you were the first person that I had talked to from this side, and your approach also made me feel like, okay, maybe I do want this. Maybe it won't be bad. Like maybe you always fear the worst. And so you helped ease me into that. And even though like I said you came on strong, it felt strong. It really felt like overwhelming love. And you were like, look, um, you my sister, so like you my sister, that's all there is to it. Like I I don't need no proof, I don't need no questions, like I don't have questions. Like whatever you need, I'm here because I'm your sister. And that made it hard to run. No matter what else came, like I knew after that first conversation, I was like, well, I don't know what the rest of this is going to be like. I don't know what, how anybody else is. And I talked to you before I had even talked to Papa G. Like at this point, when we had our conversation, I still had not talked to this man. I didn't know, like, based on the conversation with the other sister, like, I knew that he wasn't denying me, but that's all I knew.
Right.
And then he later told me that he wanted me to go at my own pace. So um, he didn't have any plans on reaching out until I reached out because he didn't want to force himself. He didn't want to put just be pushy and stuff. And also he was like, I know that you have a dad, and so I don't want to take his place. Like I want to get to know you for myself. I want to have our own relationship, but I'm treading with caution because you have to decide this. Did you say? Oh, so yeah. Yeah, so yeah, you made it easier to not run. And then once I had that conversation with him, knowing that like he was gonna let me go at my own pace, that helped too. But
So, when you matched with the other sister and you saw her picture, um, and you went through her social medias and you're looking, are you seeing yourself in any of those?
the first one, like her picture on Ancestry, I was like, I guess I kind of see it. I don't know. Everybody was like, y'all got the same nose. But then when I was looking through her social media, I don't know. I don't know if I was trying to see it because it's like I told you I believed in Ancestry. So if Ancestry said this is my half sister, like I'm grasping for straws, or if it was really there. But I do know that there were two pictures that I was just like, oh shit. Her oldest child, when they were younger, had a picture that looked just like my oldest when she was younger. And I was like, those are cousins for sure.
Right.
And then there's a picture uh, her and our other sisters when they were younger. And you remember there was a time where you put all your kids in the same little like crochet sweater and had a little background and they're looking up. And like I have a picture like that when I was a kid. And so it was like skin complexion, hairstyle, like the sweater. And I was just like, this is okay, maybe. Um, but I couldn't figure out like who the man was. Like I'm like, um, this is uh this is all fine and dandy, but like who's the man? That's what I want to know because I need to see if I look like him. Like that's gonna be what really determines uh, that. So yeah. I know you have another question that you've been dying to ask. So when when did you first see me, and what was your first thought?
So I was I'm an early sleeper. So for me, I was asleep. I was laying on my couch sleep. And one thing about dad, he just sends pictures at random, like old pictures you have whenever he goes through his phone or something, or
Yeah.
he just a fire off pictures, like remember this or whatever. So I was asleep on my couch and he shot a picture to me. And I looked at it. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. I thought it was a picture of me. Like, yeah, went back to sleep. And something in my spirit jarred me. I'm like, that ain't you. So soon as I looked at the picture again, I'm like, who the hell is this? Because the picture looked so familiar. I mean, same type of background, a picture that I had taken before. So of course now I'm like, sir, what's going on? He's like, it's another one. What? I'm just in awe. I'm like, what the heck? So yeah, it's another one. I'm like, how did this happen? Or whatever, But how she looks so much like me? Like, what the hell? It was just, I was shook. I just couldn't
Yeah.
believe it. And this is before you and I even had our conversation. But it was
Yeah.
just so like, this is weird. This is eerie as hell. So he gives me the rundown about how he's been friends with your mother for X amount of years and blah, 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 blah. But I'm saying, dude, how did she come out looking like me? Like, how old is she? Like, there's something. What does her mama look like? Because she looks too much like me to not be like, so that, yeah, it was just crazy for me. Like,
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I know you've been wanting to know. So my first time seeing you was when you messaged me on Facebook. And then I went to your profile and I don't remember what picture you had at the moment, but I was just like, why is my face on this lady's profile page? Like, and I'm staring at it and I'm just like, this feels weird. And then my middle daughter pops up and she goes, is that one of your friends? And I'm like, who, sweetie? And she's like, this lady. She looks just like you, but she has Auntie Nezzy's hair. But she has your face. Is she one of your friends? Like they didn't know anything. And I think that was the moment where I realized I can't do this in secret. Because like now she's like, who is this lady? And why does she look just like you? Why does she have your face? I'm just like, something like that. Yeah, something like that. And she was like, oh, well, she's pretty. She looks just like you. And then she bounced off. And I was just like, something as simple as me having a Facebook page pulled up was asking questions like, who is this person? Why does she look like you? And the answer to that is, this is my half sister. And that's why she looks like me. But I was like, I don't even know how to, I don't know how to have this conversation with them. And it was just so creepy. And I went through your pictures, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I got that picture. I got that picture. And then it's like, not only do we share faces, apparently we share styles.
We have
We
so
didn't.
many characters. We're lefties. It's like, yeah, we just have so many different. And then our mothers have the same name. I don't
When,
know what Greg was doing.
I don't know, but it is so crazy. And I just remember I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do if she showed me a picture of her mama and she looked like my mama. Like, I don't know. But it was just so surreal. And I stole all of the pictures that looked like me, and I made a little grid of a side by side because I just was like, the people, my friends that I had like told, I sent them this, and I was like, and the plot thickens, and they're like, oh my God, T, like, y'all look so much alike. Like, if I didn't know any better, I think that was you. And I'm like, yeah,
You do.
say. So yeah, like I knew looking at your pictures that I was not looking at me, but my brain was like, nah, fool, this is you. Like,
Yeah. It was real like weird because it's like, everybody say like you have a doppelganger or whatever. And it's just like, this is really, really too close. Like, this is crazy. And then like it was some years ago, my sister was in DC one time and she called me. She was like, where you at? And I'm like, I'm at home. She was like, girl, I swear I just saw you here. And I'm like, whatever. Nah,
I remember you asked me.
like, it's crazy.
No.
But after, you come along and now that, and realizing that we, 8 years apart, but we look so much alike. Now I see certain people and I be like, I wonder if she know who her daddy is. I'm sure that man ain't stopped. There's not an 8-year gap. We
Yeah.
got some siblings in between time. In the meantime, they just haven't come forth yet because there's no way that there is an 8-year gap.
Yeah.
I just don't believe it. So now when I see certain people, I be wanting to say, you know who your daddy is, because they favor so much. I be really wanting. I don't want to be offensive, but I be wanting to ask. I wonder who they
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Okay. You don't know.
I know. So then, okay. So like when we finally got to meet in October of 22, like, were you apprehensive? Were you nervous? What was the
I was all the things. Like I told you from the moment that we had that first conversation, I knew that like I wanted to meet you. Um, but I'm like, she's in Florida, so I don't really know. Like, I don't know when I can get to Florida. Right now, and like, I have family in Georgia, and so I was like, well, I guess next time I go to Georgia, I could probably try to drive down to Florida. But I don't even know next time I'm going to Georgia. Like, will it even be that type of trip where I have time for that? And so an opportunity presented itself, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make the most of this. But I was really nervous and scared. I didn't want to come on too strong because like we made contact. What was that, like February of 2022, and then it was like nonstop. It was like an immediate bond. We were talking and texting. We FaceTime a couple times, and so there was like I felt like I knew you. Like it didn't feel like, oh, I'm finna go meet her for the first time. It felt like my other siblings, like, oh, I'm in town, I'm finna go see them. But I also was aware that this was the first meeting. And I was like, well, what if we don't even like each other once we get face to face? Like, what if it's weird and awkward? Like, like, what if she don't even really like me? Like, what if she was just being nice and then like she can't fake it when we're together? Like all of the like worst case scenarios.
experience that? So I know.
You said what?
I've experienced that, so I know.
Yeah. So I just was, I didn't know what to expect. And I was really nervous and scared. And then I was by myself. So then I was like, if any anxiety or any like hurt feelings, like I'm gonna have to deal with it by myself. I'm not gonna have anybody here to like help me cope through it. But when you were like, do you like roller coasters? I'm gonna ask Dad if we can go to Busch Gardens. And like, okay, she might be my people because roller coasters, all right. And you were like, because we never rode a roller coaster together. And we got all of these memories that we need to make up for because we
Hey,
got robbed from our
nothing,
childhood.
we didn't get to do nothing as kids, so we have to do something that's childlike to say like, at least I went to Busch Gardens with my sister, you know, and I think, and then that was the day that Twisters was created. We we when Dad said, "Hey, y'all tickets," and I was like, "Okay, cool." We were like, "Okay," and then when we got to Busch Garden, everybody
No,
was
no,
saying,
no. You got to back up to like a few days before my
"Oh,
trip when you were like, let's dress alike.
like what color you want?" I know. I initially said, "What color you want to wear?" And then you were like, "Since I'm coming to you, we wear yellow." And then I'm like, "Okay." And then I don't know if I said or you said, but we was like, "Well, do you just want to wear the same thing?" And then
I think it was you.
it's like, "Yeah." And you was like, "No, it was me," because you was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you asked that," because I was scared to ask. I was scared to ask.
Then when we got there, how many people, like the little kids kept looking at us. They're like,
Yeah,
and we had so many people like, are y'all twins? Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, for real.
Oh man, it was such a fun day. Like that lives rent free in my head. Um, and like another like example of how you have shaped my experience coming into all of this because that was all you. The Busch Gardens, the dressing alike, like you did that. And we acted a plum fool while we were there. We took pictures every chance we got, and it was just yes, it was awesome.
But another thing that is so eerie about the relationship and how it came to be is because, like I said, there's so many similarities to us, but then there's so many roads that we have traveled, not together, but have been in the same places just at different times in our life. Like the fact that you know some of my sister's childhood friends are being in places is like they knew you at the same time age that they knew me, because of certain relationships. So it's like, how in the hell is she recreating my
Yeah, I think the creepiest one for me was finding out that your sister went to grammar school with the wife um of this couple that when I lived in Kansas took me in, and like I was like their little sister, and like they looked out for me because they're like, you're down. And the husband actually told me, he was like, you remind me of my little sister. He was like, I don't know, the first time you walked into that church, it was just something about you, and I just felt this need to protect you and to step up as a big brother. And his wife, like, I love her. Like, she welcomed me with open arms, and they just really, really poured into me. And I was telling somebody that, and they were like, you know why that is, right? Because God don't make no mistakes. And they were preparing you for this because it came full circle. Like they poured into you, they took you in as their little sister, only for you to later find out that your real sister is the little sister of their friend. Like that's just a God thing. And I was like, man, wow. And that one was the one that just like made my head spin. And I was just like, okay. But for me to move a place where you lived, and when you told me where your mom met Papa G, I was like,
I've been there.
oh, streets. But then it also made me sad And I realized, like, after, like, we talked, that the time I was there, you were no longer living there. But when it first came out, I was like, "Man, I lived there and I coulda had family." Like, the whole 18 months, I felt so alone, like, I was there by myself, and, like, I had this couple, and I'm grateful for them. Like, I still talk about them and the things that they taught me and the things that they did for me, but, like, I'm like, "I coulda had family," like, not like, "We gonna take you in" type family. And so, like, I was a little sad. I was like, "Man, we missed each other," but you wouldn't have been there anyways, so it's all good.
So what is your outside of relationship with me, what has your experience overall? What's one of your best moments in this journey thus far?
I've had a lot of good moments. Um, I've had some uncomfortable moments, some awkward moments. I've had moments where I was like, "Okay, I clearly need to, set boundaries and not be afraid to enforce them." Um, so it's hard to really pull out just, like, 1 or 2. I will say, and, I said this earlier, I am loving getting to have a relationship with grandma. Um, she is just so sweet. And to see my girls, take to her, is, like I said, it feels like such a gift and a blessing. And yeah, that has been really good. And Papa G, getting to know him, he is a character. He cracks me up. Um, but also the way that he lives his life, um, and he's so authentic and unapologetic about it, has really been eye-opening for me. Um, it's really made me think, and I was already on this journey, but like this happened at the right time. But just seeing has really made me like look inside and just think about how I show up, where I'm dimming myself, because I'm scared of. I want people to love me, so I'm not gonna show them what the parts of me that I think that they might judge or like they might look down upon, because I don't want to lose that love. And here you have a man that's like, look, I am who I am. You either love me or hate me, but either way, I'm gonna be me. And I have other people in my life like that. But when you grow up, and this is just how people are, um, and the messaging that you're getting from like various sources is that like you're supposed to be a different way. Like you're just like, oh, that's just so and so. Oh, that's just so and so. But now here's a person that's coming into my life, and they're being who they are. But these other people, I didn't get a choice of whether or not they were in my life. I was born, they were there. And here's somebody where I'm like, oh, I actually get to choose. Like, do I want you in my life or not? And as I'm evaluating and listing my pros and cons of like, do I want this person in my life? The fact that he's like, look, I am who I am. I'm not gonna hide it. Um, Look at that a little differently when like you're choosing whether or not this is a disqualifier to have you in my life, versus when like the people that like that's been around since you were born, like you didn't have a choice. So it doesn't get to be. I guess if you have boundaries and you go through healing and all of that, you always get to choose. But it's just a different kind of choice when somebody's coming in later. And so that is just really like I'm like, oh, okay. So like you look at like the stories you hear about him, you look at the relationships, and he's still choosing to be who he is. And he's like, you either love me or you hate me. And yeah, I appreciate every time I talk to him, and like he drops a little bit more knowledge. And that doesn't mean that everything he says I agree with. Doesn't mean that everything he does I agree with, because there's a lot of things that I don't, but I really do admire that. Like, and he could have tried to hide who he was, because I'm new coming into this. I don't know him. He had a friendship with my mom, not with me, and so he could have like misrepresented himself to make me want to have a relationship with him, but he didn't. Like he's been real from the jump, and he was like, "I hope you want to have a relationship with me, but I understand if any of these are a disqualifier. Like it is what it is." And so that has just been kind of eye opening. What about you? What has been some of your takeaways from your own journey?
An instant where a healing moment for me was for Dad's 50th birthday. I gave him a surprise birthday party. I had him set up his own party and everything. Birthday is, near Memorial Day, so I had him like, "Oh, we're just gonna have a Memorial Day barbecue." Blah blah blah. I had him set up his whole party, and he setting up, he helping, and then when we get there, whatever, all my family is supporting this and everything, and we did. It's become a habit that whenever we get together in a party type environment, we dance to Luther Vandross, "Dance with My Father," and I presented him with the birthday cake at this time, and then he actually realizes that this is his party and not just a barbecue, and he cried and was like, "Nobody's ever given me a party," and I'm like, "You're 50," but the impact of that and him, the vulnerability that he showed in that moment for me, kind of really just changed the way I felt about him. You
Yeah.
know, although we had started to mend our broken fences and those things, there were still some voids. And then I started to realize and to see the way he reacted. Like he sometimes will be standoffish about things, but it wasn't a standoffish. It's just like, "This is who I am." It was a more "You ain't gonna hurt me." So just realizing and seeing him as not just man, dad, but as a person, and understanding that all of his abrasiveness isn't really abrasiveness, it's protection, because I
Yeah.
had become that person to protect myself. So I started to recognize the signs of that. So just seeing him as a person, that part of the journey was just really, really eye opening for me. And the fact that for all of the major milestones in my children's life, he showed up. Graduations, major birthdays, things that he showed up, and it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
He the things that he was unable to do for me, he does for my kids, and it's just like, that's my dude. But most recently would be the family reunion. That moment, many people thought it was exaggerated or it was this and it was that. But the fact that you and I chose to go to our paternal family reunion, not know, we knew people via Facebook, but had never personally met any of these people in our family. And when we got there, the way that they embraced us and they just loved on us. And then we're sitting there talking and giving our introduction of who we are, and the whole time that we're telling him we're going to this family reunion, he's like, "Okay, well, just tell him that you're related to John L. and this is that, and I hope y'all enjoy yourself." And the fact that he pulled the wool over our eyes and showed up, it that moment is
Ooh.
ever like one of the top moments of my journey with that dude, because the way that he showed up for us that day, can't nobody say nothing about my daddy. I don't care.
Yeah,
You know.
that we're gonna have to do another live coming home about the reunion.
Okay.
Uh
That
yeah,
was like,
because that's a whole conversation all in itself. But yes, that was a top moment. And you know what? I think too that showed me a little bit more about who he is and his character. Because the focus when you talk about him is on the fact that he got 10 kids, um, and like the lifestyle that he leads. Um, and that so many of the kids are on the outside. But it's very, and the fact that he's apologetic about who he is, which can kind of come off like, oh, I'm an asshole and I'm arrogant. Um, but he showed up because he didn't want us to do this by ourselves. He
Right.
showed up because he wanted to share in this moment with us. And like you can just see his heart. Um, and then um my husband had told me too, he was like, when you talk to him and you sit back and observe him, you can see that he does care. He was like, sometimes that doesn't always come across with maybe the way that he presents himself, but you can tell that he has a big heart. And so it's not even just like us just being daddy's girls. Like someone else that like and this impacts my husband, but it doesn't impact him the way that it impacts me. So like he's kind of on the outside. And so like to have somebody that's on the outside looking in and observing to be able to see the same things that me and you see, I think just shows that like it's there. Like sometimes, he could be very like showy and you get lost in the flare. Um, but it's still a heart underneath that. And that was such a good time. I enjoyed the family, and then to find out that so many people like I got family here
Right.
where I live that I didn't even know. Like
Probably.
yeah, like I haven't seen it yet, but I'm just waiting for like um mutual friends to pop up, and it's like, oh, my mama's side know my daddy's side, cause like but yeah,
But
it's just crazy.
another thing is, this past week, Dad went on a cruise. He left out of Florida on a cruise, and he's like, "Ain't no way that I'm coming to Florida and I'm not gonna see you." And I'm thinking the same thing. So we end up going to dinner, and I'm like, "Oh well, we got to do a TikTok." And of course, you gotta see the TikTok that Twister too added herself to, which I love it. But it was just the thing, just that moment. He was willing to drive all the way here because he knew I had worked that day.
Yeah,
Was like, ain't no way that I'm gonna be this close to you and I not see you. Because what if I never make it back out of Alaska?
yeah,
So just that instance of him even taking that step, like, hey, I'm too close to my child not to see her. They'll
yeah,
make up for the moments where I feel like I may have missed. But I'm grateful, honestly, just to go back into my story, that because of the man he was when I met him, I'm grateful that my mother chose to keep me away, because some of the other siblings have ill feelings toward who he is as a person, and they were raised in relationship with him, and they didn't get to choose what memories they made with him or what they saw. So for
yeah,
me, I was blessed with the opportunity to choose what memories I make and how you know, um, we choose to be in relationship with. So for that, I'm blessed because I may
yeah,
not have love and respect for him that I do had I had to experience him the way that I did, that they
yeah,
did. So for that, I'm blessed and I'm grateful.
yeah. And that's the double-edged sword of being in this situation where you find out later in life, um, who your biological father is, or in your case, you knew, but like making that connection, um, is you miss out on the childhood memories and having him there for like certain milestones in your childhood and growing up. Um, also get a more mature, more experienced, hopefully wiser version. And so, like I said at the beginning, I thank you for the work that you did so that the version of him that came into my life was a version that I could receive. But also, based on the stories that I've heard and even how he is now, like even after all of the work, the person that he is now, the person that I was as a kid, still could not have handled that. Still would have walked away hurt and heartbroken and traumatized. But the person that I am now, because of the work that I'm doing on myself, I am able to accept him for who he is. Um, and then also say that, like, hey, these are the boundaries that I'm going to put into place. I'm doing a lot of boundary work. And even 3 years ago, like, I just wasn't that person that uh, was able to erect those boundaries and stand on them. And so it's the double-edged sword. Like, I can be appreciative that he came into my life later because now I'm able to receive him without the trauma.
Right.
But also, that literally was 10 minutes for me, and I missed out on all that time with her.
Right.
And now when I talk to her, the conversation is, well, I'm 86. I ain't got that much time, and
I hate it. I hear that. I hate it.
and like she say that all the time, and I'm like, well, grandma, we're gonna make the most of what we got,
Let's love.
and and your age is not a disqualifier from anything. And so it's just like, what kind of memories? But even with her, like, I don't know what kind of grandma she was, and so like the grandma that I'm getting now, is that the grandma I would have got if she would have been there from day one?
Right.
Like, would I feel the same way? And so you just never know, like, what other people's own journeys have like taken them to. You get them from the point in time that you meet them to whenever they exit your life. And so yeah, it's just a double-edged sword.
Right.
So
Well, I thank you for again being open though to the process because it's not an easy process to have to go through. Um,
yeah.
Again, it makes you have to reevaluate who you are as a person, like because you thought you were this person and everything you did this because of this and this because of this, and now you have to go internal and figure the hell out. And then when you're in your own head, that's just it's something.
Ooh, baby.
Ooh, so I'm been open to the process. I thank you for welcoming me and staying the course.
Yeah. I mean, did I really have a choice though?
Yeah, you know,
Because it like I said, it just,
you could have got blocked.
I could have got blocked, but we're talking about me welcoming you. So
You said, did you have a choice though? You had a choice.
I it didn't really feel like it, and not in a bad way, but like, how do you see somebody that has your face, that has so much in common with you, that literally you could be thinking about them, and then you look at your phone and you got a text message from them and decide, I don't want them in my life.
Right, right,
Like, we have like that twin bond for real, for real. And even for my brother to like meet you, and then he was like, I couldn't deny it. He was like, I wanted to. I tried, but I couldn't. And like, it's just, yeah. I'm I'm glad that you're in my life. Like,
right.
um, yeah. I can't wait to see what 2024 has in store for us. How we're gonna turn up and cut up.
Sure, for sure. And then the thing is to also on some seriousness, like our story is not unique. It's it's unique for us and our family, but there's so many families that are going through this process that we've gone through, and some of them can't even speak about it. So imagine having to go through what we've gone through, and having to sit in that because you don't want to disrupt the family. That's a tough pill to swallow. I can't be me because you did what you did when you did it. And now I'm sitting in this. There's people that may love me when you treated me like trash, but I can't speak out because it's your secret.
Yeah.
Our
Eh,
story, as unique as it is very common.
yeah. And even like, there are so many people that walk these shoes, find out later that like who they thought was their parent isn't their parent. And the first thing that I think people tend to jump to as like hidden affairs. Um, but there's so many reasons. You have aunts and grandparents raising people because the mom was whatever the case may be. And it's just so much. It could be the product of somebody being taken advantage of. It could be, they just weren't in a place to be able to be the parent. They could have not known because we enjoy so much technological advances that we don't even think about the fact that, like, not too long ago, birth control wasn't readily available.
Right.
Um, And then for women, like, you have to get your husband's permission for for birth control and all these things. Home pregnancy tests are younger than I am. So like when we're talking about like even just your mathing, like it didn't add up because you didn't know. And so there's so many cases where like, people really do think that like, the father is one person because of the circumstances and the situations, only to find out that um the math was wrong. By the time they found out they were pregnant, they were further along than they realized. And so when they counted back those 9 months that like, we're taught to do, they were off a month or two. And so there's just so many reasons why. And sometimes the people that find out, the people that have the answers aren't even alive anymore. And so now they're stuck with, trying to find this out. And bio families are not always very welcoming,
I
you
just hope
know?
our story gives people the courage to step into, their on the
The
road
truth.
journey and their truth. And no, it may not be for everybody, but for those that are wanting to um, step out into their truth, that they do. Not everybody's going to be happy. Not everybody's going to like it. But if it's your story and you want to write it, then you write your story the way you want. You don't let someone else tell your story. So that's more so of why, again, we're being vocal about our journey. There are other people that involved, and we won't include them if they don't choose to, want to
Yeah.
be. However, we're going to continue to tell our story.
Yeah. And I think that is important. Like, um, once your story includes other people, you lose exclusive rights to it. So what you do in the privacy of your bedroom, if it's just you, then that is 100% your story. But if you invite other people into that space, um, then it's no longer your story to tell, or it's no longer your story to gatekeep, I should say. Because other people are witness to it, and then they can tell. And like, I got so many siblings, and like, I went from having four to like now 14. I think that math is right. I'll check it later. But how dare I tell any of them what they can and can't say about their experience with me? Um, because it is their experience. I might not like what they have to say, and maybe I don't want them to, but like, you just don't get to gatekeep somebody else's story. And that can be really, really hard for so many people, especially people in our community where we're told you don't air your dirty laundry. And so the dirty laundry for me would be the fact that the dad I grew up with isn't my biological father. Like that begs questions into like, well, how did you not know this? And how did this happen? And what kind of life was your mama leading? And what kind of
And then
life were these people
I
leading?
I shouldn't have to feel shame
Yeah. But
because of
I
the
feel
my parents.
no, you shouldn't. You shouldn't have to feel ashamed for the actions of your parents. But also for me, I'm like, that's just a small piece of the story. I don't even care about what transpired between my three parents when I was conceived. You know what Twisters from the Same Mister represents to me? Being able to connect with my sister and share our antics and just be silly. And relish in the fact that I'm more concerned with the fact that there's a lady out here that has my face, that we're both left-handed, that like our mamas got the same name, they're born in the same month. Like we got all these similarities. that's the part that I want to share with the world. Like, that's the story that I want to tell. That other stuff, that's just how I got here. But that's not, it's key to the story, but that's not the focus for me.
Right.
Like, you, me, our relationship, that's the focus. And that's the part that I don't want to have to hide
Right.
because I'm airing dirty laundry. Like, I just want to share my sister because it's a good time every time I'm with her.
And it's like, okay, I got 5 minutes on a call with you. And then it's like 30 minutes later in the SpongeBob voice. A SpongeBob voice. So yeah, I totally agree. I mean, but I really want our story to cause people to reach out to those other siblings and do, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's not confined to a box. It's so many stories. I just want other people to see our story and it
Yeah.
be inspiration for them to step out and do
Oh,
something.
for sure. I do hope that our story inspires people. I hope that it gives them the courage that they need to take the steps that they need in their own journey. And we get to have, you and I get to have the fairy tale. Um, Recognizing that some people will put themselves out there and it won't end up like me and you. And for those people, I just want to say, again, there's 10 of us. We do not have this relationship with all of them. Um, and that doesn't mean that it's bad blood or anything, but like this journey really is a spectrum. You have the they don't want to acknowledge me, they did me foul, to the oh, we're besties and we love each other and it's always a good time. And between the two of us, we have we have probably experienced something on that spectrum. And so it'll be okay. And so you won't know where on that spectrum you'll land until you put yourself out there.
For sure.
And I just want to encourage them that like we got people that we grew up with that we knew from day one that we don't have the best relationship with. Like, let's not pretend that just because somebody has been there from birth that you automatically have an awesome relationship with them. So how do you treat those people, those current relationships in your life where they go sour? Like, same rules apply, but don't go into it thinking that it's going to be sour because you might get like the best lemonade ever. Like,
You might get
so,
a we.
yeah. So, get a twin day out at Busch Gardens. So yeah. In all seriousness, that's another reason why we're doing this because we want to show people um that you're not alone. Because I definitely thought I was alone when I first went through this. And I was like, I gotta tell people, nobody gonna understand. They finna try to make a spectacle and gossip and like I had my therapy, but therapy is only like once a week. The other 6 days, I needed somebody to talk to. I needed, and then it's only an hour. We can't unpack. And then as I got to know you, I wanted to share you. Like, and so then it's like I could share you with my therapist, but that's where it like begins and ends. That just doesn't seem fair. Um, so yeah, it it felt so lonely. Um, and then as I started trying to find resources for myself, I realized that not only am I not alone, but like there are so many people out here. Um, and I just think recently about Kirk Franklin and Tyler Perry and Kerry
Very
Washington. And just like the names just keep coming and coming and coming, and then I watch TV shows and movies, and I'm like, oh, my storyline again, my storyline again.
and Karamo show be bringing them out the woodworks.
Yeah, so you and your Karamo. So yeah, I think it's just important for people to know that you're not alone, and whenever you feel ready to tell your story, go ahead and do it. Um, so yeah, well, as
Yeah.
always, Twister, I enjoy talking to you.
Likewise.
So, all right, well, I guess we'll go ahead and end this and enjoy the rest of our Sundays.
For sure. Happy Sunday, everybody.
Happy Sunday. And be sure to check out the reel that we uploaded of our shenanigans or their shenanigans that I inserted myself in.
With that.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Love you.